Hi, I'm Sarah, one of the technicians here at Cinder Rock Veterinary Clinic. Today we're going to look at how to medicate your pet at home. There's different types of medication that you might be sent with, a liquid or a pill, and different ways that you can go about medicating different sizes of animals and types of animals. We'll start with Basil, a small little dachshund here, and then we'll also use a larger dog with more detail with his mouth, and then we'll also practice with a cat, which can be pretty interesting sometimes. With Basil, I'm going to demonstrate how to give a liquid medication. In this case, we'll just use some water, and we'll also give her a pill, which is actually just a little piece of treat for today, and we're going to use a pilling instrument that you can get. So to start, if you need two people, you can always have somebody holding on to the body while you're working with their head and giving them the medication, but she's hopefully going to be a good patient for us today, and I'll just do it with just me. So I like to hold at the top of their head and also have some support at the bottom. When we're working with the bigger dog today, you'll get some more detail of where I'm holding on the mouth. We take the top little jaw, and behind her upper canines, her big teeth, I'm holding for good support. And then I'm right-handed, so I'll put the medication in my right hand. I'll push down on her lower jaw just a little bit so that I can get it open enough to stick the syringe into the side and slowly drizzle my liquid in. I don't want to shoot it too fast so that it's suddenly at the back of her throat, but again, not too slow so that she has time to decide she doesn't want me to do it. Good job. And then to give her a little pill, like I said, we're going to use a pilling instrument or a pillar for her. So you take your little pill and you put it in the end of your pillar, and then when we push on the button, it'll almost shoot the pill a little bit so that it sticks it back to the back of her throat. So this is a nice tool to use so that you don't risk getting your fingers bit by your pet at home. So again, we'll hold her little head up just a little bit, doesn't need to be tipped back very far. And I'm going to grab in the same place behind her upper canines here. I'm going to use my right hand to push down on her lower jaw just enough to get it open. And I stick this back pretty far, and I push the button so that it shoots the pill out. And then I like to rub on their throat just a little while I'm using this hand to keep their mouth closed so they can't spit it out. Rubbing on the throat encourages them to swallow sometimes. If you're not sure that the pill has actually been swallowed, while you're still holding onto their mouth so they can't spit the pill out, you can do like we just did with the liquid and squirt just a little bit of water in there, and that's going to really encourage the swallowing. So that would be how we would medicate a small dog. So now I'm going to use Zico to demonstrate a big dog, and I'm going to give him a pill, again just a piece of treat, to show how I would give pills to a pet using my hand, not a pilling instrument. If you feel fairly confident that your pet isn't going to accidentally or purposely bite down on your hand, then it is okay to use your hand rather than some kind of pilling device to give them a pill. I also wanted to use Zico because he's got a bigger muzzle, so I can show you better how I'm actually grabbing onto the mouth when I'm giving the pill. So, get our little treat pill. Yes, it smells good. So when I grab on, I'm actually grabbing onto either side of the upper jaw with one hand, and I'm behind the canine. I use my middle finger on one side and my thumb on the other, and I sit just behind those canines. That gives me good control over his head and his upper jaw so that I can move him the way that I need to get the pill down. So again, I grab on either side just behind those canines, and then I use the hand that I have the pill in, which he's very interested in because it's a treat, and I use that to pull down just slightly on his lower jaw. And I usually put one finger on the front of the lower jaw on those teeth just to open it enough, get my hand in there all the way to the back of his throat, and put the pill in. And then, just like before, I keep his mouth shut long enough that I know he's swallowed. Him flicking his tongue out at me is a good indication that he's actually swallowed. Since that was pretty quick of sticking the pill down, I can do it one more time. So again, either side just behind the canines so that I can have good control over what his head is doing. And I just open up, stick it all the way back there, close till I know he's swallowed, and he's good. So now that we've gone through how to medicate our dog pets, we'll use Spot here as one of our cat patients. Spot is here boarding with us. He's one of our favorite little friends to have come stay at the clinic. He's also not getting any medication, so I'm using a little piece of treat, but it gives you the same idea. We're going to go through how to use the pillar on him and then also how we would do a liquid medication. And more often than not, using a pillar is a better idea on a cat than using your hand. But you can use your hand if you want, but I'll just show how to use the pillar. They just have such a small mouth, using your hand can be hard. So with the pillar, same one as we used for Basil, you take your little pill and put it in the end of the spout, and then when we're ready to go, we'll push the button and that'll shoot the pill out. And then just like we've done on the other two, I'm going to use one hand over the top to have a little bit more control over his head and his jaw. And I'm going to go right by those canines like I did. Everything's a lot faster with a cat though, because they aren't usually quite as cooperative for everything. So I'm going to grab on either side. And I actually just use the little pillar to wedge open their mouth, put the very back, and in this case the pill came back out at us, so we have to repeat it. And so that's why you're always watching to make sure that the pill's actually been swallowed, because if it hasn't, then you're not doing any good. So again, we're going to hold on either side of his little face, and I'll use my little pillar to open up his mouth, and I'm going to stick it way back, and then I close with this hand as fast as I can to keep his mouth shut so that he's swallowing. If you want to follow it with just a little bit of water, you can, so that you know he's actually swallowed it down. So that's using the pillar in a cat, and as you can see, it can be more challenging than our last two dogs that we used. One tip that we have that we use a lot of times in the clinic is if we have a cat that's really fighting us and doesn't want to have a medication given, liquid or pills, we'll use what we call the burrito method. So kind of a shortened version of it. As we take a towel, I've laid it out completely flat, and I essentially am just burritoing up Spot into the towel. So I'm wrapping it around him so that his front feet are contained so that he can't be trying to scratch me or claw and get away. And I just wrapped it all the way around so that all that he has out is his little head. We're going to use some water to do a liquid medication while he's in his little burrito. Sometimes it calms them down quite a bit too, so they're easier to work with. But I'll do the exact same thing. I'll grab on either side of his little head, tip his head back just a little, wedge my syringe in the corner of his mouth so that I can start squirting. And I just slowly start putting the liquid in so that he doesn't get too upset. But again, you don't want to take too much time and end up losing your hold on your cat. So again, just tip back and slowly squirt. And that is how we generally medicate our cats and dogs for pills or liquids.